Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari
Gopijana Vallabha Jaya
Girivardhari Jaya Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama
Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe
Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai
Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai
Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitai Gaur Shikanath Premanand.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. It was a beautiful kirtan. Thank you so much. Absolutely beautiful. And we will call on you more often. Hare Krishna. So welcome. Amrita Radhadevi Dasi, Mataji, Rituan Prabhu, and Ben. We are a bit thin to start with. Rashmi will come later, and Vashana, hopefully, Amit will come later for sure, he said. So let's start off. Hare Krishna. Are you all well?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you all
Yes.
by your blessings.
Hare Krishna. Krishna's blessings, we are all well. Hare Krishna. So let's see, we have tonight, let me just check. The verse tonight is text 18. Oops, 18 of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, of the 12th canto. The first canto, 12th chapter, text 18. Okay, I'll paste this URL in our chat. There we go, for everyone. Text 18. Ben, you want to give it a start? That would be nice. How do you feel about that? Reading of text 18.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text 18. Shri Rajo Vacha Apesha Vamshyan Rajarsin Punya Slokan Mahatmana Anuvartita Shvid Yasasa Sadhu Vadena Satamaha. Translation. The good King Yudhisthira inquired, O great souls, will he become as saintly a king, as pious in his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The forefathers of King Yudhisthira were all great saintly kings, pious and glorified by their great achievements. They were all saints on the royal throne, and therefore all the members of the state were happy, pious, well-behaved, prosperous, and spiritually enlightened, under strict guidance of the great souls and spiritual injunctions. Such great saintly kings were trained up, and as a result, the kingdom was full of saintly persons and was a happy land of spiritual life. Maharaj Yudhisthira was himself a replica of his ancestors, and he desired that the next king after him become exactly like his great forefathers. He was happy to learn from the learned Brahmanas that by astrological calculations, the child would be born a first-grade devotee of the Lord, and more confidentially, he wanted to know whether the child was going to follow in the footsteps of his great forefathers. That is the way of the monarchical state. The reigning king should be a pious, chivalrous devotee of the Lord and fear personified for the upstarts. He must also leave an heir apparent, equally qualified to rule over the innocent citizens. In the modern setup of the democratic states, the people themselves are fallen to the qualities of the Sudras or less, and the government is run by their representative, who is ignorant of the scriptural mode of administrative education. Thus, the whole atmosphere is charged with Sudra qualities manifested by lust and avarice. Such administrators quarrel every day among themselves. The cabinet of ministers changes often due to a party and group selfishness. Everyone wants to exploit the state resources till he dies. No one retires from political life unless he is forced to do so. How can such a low-grade men do good to the people? The result is corruption, intrigue, and hypocrisy. They should learn from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam how ideal the administrators must be before they can be given charge of different posts.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Can you say a few words, Ben? Prabhupada in this purport, he's like, just explaining that the quality of the different kings in that dynasty, from Maharaj Yudhisthira, and just making the point that they were all highly qualified, and they were all pure devotees of the Lord. Therefore, they were fit candidates to rule and administer the kingdom along the spiritual lines. And he makes a contrast between these times in history, and he makes a contrast about present day leaders in society, politicians, and he finds them wanting. They're not of the same quality. It's like it all just seems to be based on exploitation. And Prabhupada says it's like within the present society, it's all Sudra qualities. And these are manifested by greed and lust. And, it's just they're constantly making mistakes all the time, constantly fighting, constantly, unable to satisfy the people, and just a real shambles, really, by comparison to how a society would be if it was run along spiritual lines with qualified leaders in charge. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. When I read that purport, I was for a moment not sure if I'm reading the news or if I'm reading Srila Prabhupada's purport, because it was just so accurately reflecting the situation, word by word, what we have right now. Srila Prabhupada writes, no one retires from political life unless forced to do so. Well, that's like our dear Prime Minister. He has said, I will not resign. You need a division of tanks to get me out of that position. Here we go. And there is lots of accusation of corruption and so on. And the ministers in the cabinet, they're changing all the time. Yes, so these are very accurate descriptions. How could Srila Prabhupada know that 40 years plus ago? Who can say? How did Srila Prabhupada know what is happening today? Ben, what do you say?
Well, I mean, what comes to mind is that was similar in his time. You know, he could
Yeah, exactly.
he could see that. He could see that then, and it's not that it's changed today. It was the same then, and it's still the same today.
All the time. Right. Yeah, very good. Nice answer. Thank you. What else? Anyone has any question? I mean, okay, I have a question. Maybe Ben for you or anybody else. How did Srila Prabhupada, here we're speaking about the monarchy. These are very important topics. So monarchy, not the monarchy as it was, or it is still today in various countries, including this country, but the monarchy even 100, 200, 300 years ago, there were monarchs, there were the kings of various countries. They're still there, but there were the Kaiser, the emperor, and so on. So here Srila Prabhupada, of course, he explains that a monarch, a king, has to be trained. He has to be a devotee of the Lord, an unalloyed, a pure devotee of the Lord. And then naturally such a king will train and devise various means of training the citizens to also become Krishna conscious, to rise up, to become pure devotees. That's a duty of the state, not to become sense gratifiers and to work on economic development. Economic development is not important in the light of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Why? Because economic development is just for this lifetime. We may economically develop, and after we leave this body, all our economic development, all our bank account, all our assets, everything is gone. No use to us. But if we cultivate spiritual values, and we know, last week we spoke about Kaunteha Pratichani Hina Me Bhakta Pranashyati. Arjuna, declare it boldly, my devotee will never perish. So we carry on next lifetime, where we stopped. Exactly where we stopped. So these assets, spiritual assets, are eternal. Material assets are temporary, only relating to this body. And still people are not very enthusiastic. People are not very eager to hear the message of the Bhagavatam. And easily people have so many excuses. So many things happen, yes. For them, these are not excuses, because things do happen. But it's a question of priority. For them, they think, oh, the house is burning. I mean, not literally, but there's so many problems, so that is more important than Krishna. But when the fire breaks out, when calamity strikes, and calamity always strikes in this material world, there is always there are always problems, there is always calamity, and with a little bit of breaks in between the calamity, because it is part of this material setup that most people don't understand that either. They think when something bad happens and they're trying to counteract and try to mitigate and so on and so on. And then they think after that a problem is mitigated, then there is plain sailing ever after. That is not like that. It would be nice. We're moving out a problem of our way and then no more problem for the rest of our time. No, it's not like that. Problem come constantly due to karma, collective and individual. So it is up. Yes.
Can I make a point as well, because
This
that these political systems in different societies and different states, they're all relative really as well, because some are, you could say, better than others. You know, if you look at and compare different countries, levels of corruption and their ability to administer, you know, there is differences. And I was the question came to mind, you know, what if you asked the politician about how Prabhupada has how he has explained politicians? I wonder what answer you would get from a politician about how they would see. Because would you say all politicians are bad? Can you just say they're all the same? Are there some who are more righteous, moral than others, and some are immoral as well? But is it all? Is it are they all bad apples, or is there some good apples among them? I don't know.
Well, let me answer that. It appears like, unfortunately, there are no good apples. You cannot see any good apples. You say there are different levels of corruption in different countries. I would put it like that. There are different levels of corruption which come to the surface, which can be seen. In other countries, you don't see the corruption. It's just underneath, underlying. And then at some point, it comes out.
So some are better at corruption than others.
Well, it appears not. And how can it be? As you said before, Srila Prabhupada said that some 40 years ago, yes, the situation was not different. It's very easy to predict and to absolutely state something like that, because these people, these political leaders, are just speculating. They're not devotees in the slightest sense. They're just completely on the level of sense gratification and on the material platform. So how can anything good come out from there? It can't.
I mean, they can only do material things. They can alter material conditions in a sense.
Yeah, but what does it do? King Yudhishthira was not. There is not a single word about economic development. It was just spiritual development, and economic development will automatically come. Krishna says so. For my devotees, those who have unflinching faith in me, I provide what they lack and preserve what they have. So that's economic development. So Lord himself will take care of our economic needs. But people say that I don't believe that.
Do you think the Lord, he likes the UK because they're one of the smallest but richest countries in the world?
If the Lord likes the UK, yes, he likes the UK. He likes the UK because there are a few devotees there. He likes Leicester because there is Ben, there is Rashmi, there is Rituan, and Amrita Radhe Mataji. That's why. Look, the Bible story. What was it? Nineveh, the city, were all sinful, all of them, except one family. So the Lord sent his angel and said, I will destroy the entire city. Only this one family, you follow the angel and you will be rescued out of the city. But don't turn around. Whatever you hear or whatever, don't turn around, otherwise you'll be lost. So, just for one family, the Lord sends his angel and lets them out. Kaunteya pranachani hiname bhakta pranashyati. And unfortunately, the wife, she turned around and she was lost because the whole city went, it almost appears like a nuclear device. It were all in flames and all destroyed. So they were all bad apples. But there was one family. So Krishna takes care of, even here tonight are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 devotees. So Krishna takes care of his devotees, even if nobody else is there. Okay, but my question, where I wanted to get to, monarchy. It needs to be the monarch, the king needs to be a devotee of the Lord. It needs to be trained. It can be trained. That's all a question of training. Need to be trained to be an administrator like Yudhishthira Maharaj. And that's all training. One can become a pure devotee, and then he's qualified as a king. When Gopkumar went up to Brahmaloka after a long journey and various different lokas, and eventually Brahmaloka, and Lord Brahma left his post out of certain reasons, and then a certain said Gopkumar has qualities, and they asked him, you be Brahma. So he took on the post of Lord Brahma for some time. Why? Because he was qualified. Someone takes on the position of guru. Why? Because he is qualified. Someone takes on the position of a king only if he is qualified. All by qualification. So, what does anybody... Okay, let me ask Rashmi Mataji. Do you know what... I mean, Srila Prabhupada speaks about monarchy and so on. What does Srila Prabhupada say about democracy? Any idea? Because we have in the Western world so-called democracies. What is Srila Prabhupada saying about democracy? The system of democracy. Rashmi.
I can't remember, Prabhuji. I vaguely remember in his purports. He has mentioned, but...
Amritarati Mataji.
Prabhuji, even in this purport and in other places also, Prabhupada doesn't approve of democracy. He calls it democracy in some places. And here also he's saying that the people themselves are fallen to the qualities of Shudras or less, and the government is run by their representative. Hence, not much can be expected, basically. This is what he says. But Prabhuji, can I say something? Can I add a point?
Yes.
Though Prabhupada heavily criticizes democracy, but until and unless, the spirituality or Krishna consciousness becomes the center point of the world's, existence, I think, again, it's my opinion, and also something that, democracy is kind of better than monarchy, because if someone has in this world, absolute power, and because we are Shudras and lesser than Shudras, so there's bound to be exploitation. And also, like even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, even though he established a spiritual institution, Gauranga Math, he had recommended that you should go in for a GBC, a term which he borrowed from, the Indian Railways Governing Body Commission. So, unfortunately, or by some arrangement of the Lord himself, it didn't happen in Gauranga Math, but Srila Prabhupada established GBC. Because I believe that what I understand is, again, Srila Prabhupada didn't want absolute power to go to one person. So
certainly not in regards, yes. Certainly not in regards to guru, absolute power. One guru elected or something, no, nothing of that. But there's an interesting point. You speak of absolute power in a monarchy. But in a monarchy where the king is not a devotee of the Lord, that is havoc. Absolute power, absolutely. But when the king is a devotee of the Lord, he can have absolute power because he will use it properly. And the other point on democracy, yes, there is a nice example. Srila Prabhupada speaks of a nice example. The blind leading the blind, right? The political leaders, which are not trained as devotees of the Lord, as Vaishnavas, they are blind, spiritually blind. And the leading blind people, the people are equally blind because they're electing those representatives. So they're both blind, and the leading blind leads the blind. What's going to happen to them? They both fall into a ditch. So it will not work out very well. Anyway, we could speak a lot more on the political or governmental system of monarchy and democracy. Is there any question more to that topic? If not, we move on to the next verse. And I would like to ask Rashmi Mataji to take us into the next verse, text 19.
Prabhuji, if you don't mind, I'll do the following verse because my hands are dirty and I don't want to touch my Bhagavatam with that.
Okay, so I would ask Rituvan Prabhuji, can you take the next text, which is text 19?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes, text 19, chapter 12, yeah. Brahmana uchuhu partha prajavita shakshad ikshvakur eva manava brahmanaya satya sandhascha ramo dasharathir yatha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The learned Brahmana said, O son of Pritha, this child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. And as for following the Brahmanical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dasharath. Purport. Praja means the living being who has taken his birth in the material world. Actually, the living being has no birth and no death. But because of his separation from the service of the Lord and due to his desire to lord it over the material nature, he is offered a suitable body to satisfy his material desires. In doing so, one becomes conditioned by the laws of material nature, and the material body is changed in terms of his own work. The living entity thus transmigrates from one body to another in 84 lakh species of life. But due to his being the part and parcel of the Lord, he not only is maintained with all necessities of life by the Lord, but also is protected by the Lord and his representatives, the saintly kings. These saintly kings give protection to all the prajas or living beings to live and to fulfill their terms of imprisonment. Maharaj Parikshit was actually an ideal saintly king because while touring his kingdom, he happened to see that a poor cow was about to be killed by a personified Kali, whom he at once took to task as a murderer. This means that even the animals were given protection by the saintly administrators, not from any sentimental point of view, but because those who have taken their birth in the material world have the right to live. All the saintly kings, beginning from the king of the sun globe down to the king of the earth, are so inclined by the influence of Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures are taught in higher planets also, as there is reference in Bhagavad Gita 4.1 and the teachings of the sun god Vivashwan by the Lord. And such lessons are transferred by disciplic succession as it was done by the sun god to his son Manu, and from Manu to Maharaj Ikshvaku. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, and the Manu referred to herein is the 7th Manu, who is one of the Prajapatis, those who create progeny, and he is the son of the sun god. He is known as Vaivashvat Manu. He had 10 sons, and Maharaj Ikshvaku is one of them. Maharaj Ikshvaku was learned. Maharaj Ikshvaku also learned Bhakti Yoga as taught in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Gita from his father Manu, who got it from his father, the sun god. Later on, the teaching of Bhagavad Gita came down by disciplic succession from Maharaj Ikshvaku, but in course of time, the chain was broken by unscrupulous persons, and therefore it again had to be taught to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So all the Vedic literatures are current from the very beginning of creation of the material world, and thus the Vedic literatures are also known as Apaurusheya, not made by man. The Vedic knowledge was spoken by the Lord and first heard by Brahma, the first created living being within this universe. Maharaj Ikshvaku, one of the sons of Vaivashvat Manu. He had 100 sons. He prohibited meat eating. His son Sashada became the next king after his death. Manu. The Manu mentioned in this verse as the father of Ikshaku is the seventh Manu of the name Vaivashvat Manu, the son of the sun god Vivashwan, to whom Lord Krishna instructed the teachings of Bhagavad Gita prior to his teaching them to Arjuna. Mankind is the descendant of Manu. This Vaivashvat Manu had 10 sons named Ikshaku, Nabhag, Drishta, Saryati, Narishanta, Nabhag, Dishta, Karusha, Prishadra, and Vasuman. The Lord's incarnation Matsya, the gigantic fish, was advented during the beginning of Vaivashvat Manu's reign. He learned the principles of Bhagavad Gita from his father, Vivashwan, the sun god, and he reinstated the same to his son, Maharaj Ikshvaku. In the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the sun god instructed devotional service to Manu, and Manu in his turn instructed it to Ikshvaku for the welfare of the whole human society. Lord Ram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead incarnated himself as Lord Ram, accepting the sonhood of his pure devotee Maharaj Dasharath, the king of Ayodhya. Lord Ram descended along with his plenary portions, and all of them appeared as his younger brothers. In the month of Chaitra, on the 9th day of the growing moon in the Treta Yuga, the Lord appeared as usual to establish the principles of religion and to annihilate the disturbing elements. When he was just a young boy, he helped the great sage Vishwamitra by killing Subahu and striking Maricha, the she-demon, who was disturbing the sages in their daily discharge of duties. The Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas are meant to cooperate for the welfare of the mass of the people. The Brahmana sages endeavor to enlighten the people by perfect knowledge, and the Kshatriyas are meant for their protection. Lord Ramchandra is the ideal king for maintaining and protecting the highest culture of humanity, known as Brahmanya Dharma. The Lord is specifically the protector of the cows and the Brahmanas, and hence he enhances the prosperity of the world. He rewarded the administrative demigods by effective weapons to conquer the demons through the agency of Vishwamitra. He was present in the bow sacrifice of King Janaka, and by breaking the invincible bow of Shiva, he married Sita Devi, the daughter of Maharaj Janaka. After his marriage, he accepted exile in the forest for 14 years by the order of his father, Maharaj Dasharath. To help the administration of the demigods, he killed 14,000 demons, and by the intrigues of the demons, his wife, Sita Devi, was kidnapped by Ravana. He made friendship with Sugriva, who was helped by the Lord to kill Vali, brother of Sugriva. By the help of Lord Ram, Sugriva became the king of Vanaras, Vanaras, the race of gorillas. The Lord built a floating bridge of stones on the Indian Ocean and reached Lanka, the kingdom of Ravana, who had kidnapped Sita. Later on, Ravana was killed by him, and Ravana's brother, Vibhishan, was installed on the throne of Lanka. Vibhishan was one of the brothers of Ravana, a demon, but Lord Ram made him immortal by his blessings. On the expiry of 14 years after settling the affairs at Lanka, the Lord came back to his kingdom Ayodhya by Flower Plain. He instructed his brother Shatrughna to attack Lavanasur, who reigned at Mathura, and the demon was killed. He performed 10 Ashwamedh sacrifices, and later on he disappeared while taking a bath in the Sarayu River. The great epic Ramayana is the history of Lord Ram's activities in the world, and the authoritative Ramayana was written by the great poet Valmiki. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. A long purport. Can you say something? Just pick some point you want to say a few words about.
Hare Krishna. Here Srila Prabhupada mentions that the word praja means like any living being who has taken birth in this material world, anyone who is born. So the duty of the king is not only to protect the human beings, but also to protect anybody who is born in that kingdom or in this material world, be it in the body of a human being or be it in the body of anybody, any lower animals also. Like that's why Srila Prabhupada here tells one thing. He gives an example of how Maharaj Parikshit, he was like ready to kill the personified Kali when he saw that the Kali in the form of a Shudra was trying to kill a cow. So here Prabhupada like puts a point that a king or an administrator should protect not only the human beings, but also each and every living entities who is born in that kingdom. And then Prabhupada also takes this verse from Bhagavad Gita 4.1, where the Parampara system is also been told that the sun god Vivashwan told the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Bhagavad Gita to his son Vaivashvat Manu, and Vaivashvat Manu passed this on to his son Ikshvaku, and thereby the disciplic succession of Bhagavad Gita was there. But unfortunately, there was some unscrupulous persons, there was this Parampara system was lost, and again Srimad Bhagavad Gita was told by the Lord, reinstated to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this is how Krishna propagates this message, and if the disciplic succession is broken, he comes down again and chooses one of his pure devotees and makes him a representative. And then Prabhupada also gives small biographies of different kings, including Shvaku, Manu, and Lord Ramchandra.
Hare Krishna. What a beautiful explanation and summary of these words of the Bhagavatam. Very nice. Thank you so much. Question or a comment first. When I read that, I have not heard that before. Maharaj Ikshvaku, while he was ruling the kingdom, he was forbidding animal slaughter. Look at that. I mean, how does it compare to today? It was prohibited in the kingdom to kill an animal. Natural for a devotee, of course. So it can be achieved. It can be achieved. So the whole kingdom, everybody was vegetarian. There may have been some who secretly killed animals, but if they were found out, they were punished. So as an official policy, no animal killing. Where does that leave us today? Which party in government has an official policy? No animal killing anymore. Finished. Or people would protest because they're as fallen as the leaders. Anyway, that was a very nice explanation. Anyone has any question? I have a question, maybe for Amrita Radhe Mataji. It was said, Srila Prabhupada said, parampara was lost by unscrupulous persons. So how does that happen?
Prabhuji, I'm only speculating. When someone changes the teachings and puts in his own ideas, that can be one reason.
That is actually how it is happening. That is how scripture is changing. In contrast to Srila Prabhupada, who said, I have no qualification of distributing Krishna consciousness or translating all the wonderful, the Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and so on. I have no qualification to do that. My only qualification, whatever I have heard from my spiritual master, I have passed on without adding anything nor subtracting anything. And that is a proper parampara. And if we follow that ourselves as well, we only speak what we have heard from our spiritual master, what we have heard from Srila Prabhupada. There is no place and no space for any mental speculation, I think, or perhaps none of that. We have to, if we sufficiently hear from Srila Prabhupada, or we sufficiently hear from our spiritual master, and then we just repeat that exactly. That's all. What can our addition, or sometimes devotees are asked, what is your opinion? We don't have an opinion. We don't have an opinion on Bhagavad Gita or Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. No, far from it. No opinion. We can only repeat what we have heard, and that is good enough, and that is glorious, and that keeps a parampara alive. But as soon as someone changes something, as soon as someone knows, I know better, there are people, unscrupulous people, they even think, oh, Srila Prabhupada wasn't right here. No, we take what Srila Prabhupada has given us as 100% in every regard. Or some people may think, oh, maybe Srila Prabhupada was culturally conditioned. He was, after all, an elderly Indian gentleman. He was a Bengali, so he saw it in the cultural context. No. Srila Prabhupada is beyond cultural context. A pure devotee is not influenced by cultural contact, by birth in a certain country, birth in Calcutta, or whatever. No, nothing whatsoever. We take what we have heard, in particular in relation to philosophical points, what we have heard from our spiritual master, and we just repeat. Then the parampara keeps alive. As soon as we change something, we add something, we subtract something, then that's what happens 5,000 years ago. Therefore, Krishna came to re-establish a parampara system. Because unscrupulous people and those who changing, who adding or subtracting something to the scripture, the things are so clever. If they do that, these are unscrupulous people, persons. Then, or today, or in 5,000 years, same thing. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any question? Is it beautiful or want to add something? Is it beautiful long purport? If not, I would like to ask Rashmi Mataji to take us to text 20. Is that all right, Rashmi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes. Text 20. Esha deta sharanyascha yathaya shurina shivi yasho with anita swanam doshyantir iva yajvanam doshyantir iva yajvanam. Translation: this child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like a famous King Sibi of the Ushinara country, and he will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyanta. Purport.
Rashmi Mataji, can you close the door? I think Krishna is doing some noises there.
Yes, Prabhuji. Krishna, are you finished? Don't do that. Yeah? Prabhuji is finished.
Okay.
Purport. A king became famous by his acts of charity, performance of yagyas, protection of the surrendered, etc. A Kshatriya king is proud to give protection to the surrendered soul. This attitude of a king is called Ishvara Bhav, or factual power to give protection in a righteous cause. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord instructs living beings to surrender unto him, and he promises all protection. The Lord is all-powerful and true to his word, and therefore he never fails to give protection to his different devotees. The king, being the representative of the Lord, must possess this attitude of the giving protection to the surrendered souls at all risk. Maharaj Shibi, the king of Ushinara, was an intimate friend of Maharaj Yayati, who was able to reach the heavenly planets along with Maharaj Shibi. Maharaj Shibi was aware of the heavenly planet where he was to be transferred after his death. And the description of this heavenly planet is given in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 96.69. Maharaj Shibi was so charitably disposed that he wanted to give over his acquired position in the heavenly kingdom to Yayati, but he did not accept it. Yayati went to the heavenly planet along with great rishis like Ashtaka and others. On inquiry from the rishis, Yayati gave an account of Shibi's pious acts when all of them were on the path to heaven. He has become a member of the assembly of Yamraj, who has become his worshipable deity. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the worshipper of the demigods goes to the planet of the demigods, Yanti Deva Rata Devan. So Maharaj Sibi has become an associate of the great Vaishnava authority, Yamaraj, on that particular planet. While he was on earth, he became very famous as a protector of surrendered souls and a donor of charities. The king of heaven once took the shape of a pigeon hunter, bird, eagle, and Agni, the fire god, took the shape of a pigeon. The pigeon, whilst being chased by the eagle, took shelter in the lap of Maharaj Shibi, and the hunter eagle wanted the pigeon back from the king. The king wanted to give it some other meat to eat and required the bird not to kill the pigeon. The hunter bird refused to accept the king's offer, but it was settled later that the eagle would accept flesh from the body of the king of the pigeon's equivalent weight. The king began to cut flesh from his weight to weigh in the balance equivalent to the weight of the pigeon. But the mystic pigeon always remained heavier. The king then put himself on the balance to equate with the pigeon, and the demigods were pleased with him. The king of heaven and the fire god disclosed their identity, and the king was blessed by them. Devarshi Narad also glorified Maharaj Shibi for his great achievements, specifically in charity and protection. Maharaj Shibi sacrificed his own son for the satisfaction of human beings in his kingdom, and thus child Parikshit was to become a second Shibi in charity and protection. Doshyanti Bharat. There are many Bharatas in history, of which Bharat, the brother of Lord Ram, Bharat, brother of Lord Ram, Bharat, the son of King Rishabh, and Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyant, are very famous. And all these Bharats are historically known to the universe. This earth planet is known as Bharat or Bharatvarsh due to King Bharat, the son of Rishabh. But according to some, this land is known as Bharat due to the reign of the son of Dushyanta. So far as we are convinced, this land's name, Bharatvarsh, was established from the reign of Bharat, the son of King Rishabh. Before him, the land was known as Ilavrita Varsh, but just after the coronation of Bharat, the son of Rishabh, this land became famous as Bharatvarsh. But despite all this, Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyant, was not less important. He is the son of the famous beauty Shakuntala. Maharaj Dushyant fell in love with Shakuntala in the forest, and Bharat was conceived. After that, Maharaj forgot his wife Shakuntala by the curse of Kanva Muni, and the child Bharat was brought up in the forest by his mother. Even in the childhood, he was so powerful that he challenged the lions and elephants in the forest and would fight with them as little children play with cats and dogs. Because of the boys becoming so strong, more than the so-called modern Tarzan, the rishis in the forest called him Sarva Damana, or one who is able to control everyone. A full description of Maharaj Bharat is given in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva. The Pandavas or the Kurus are sometimes addressed as Bharata due to being born in the dynasty of the famous Maharaj Bharat, the son of King Dushyant.
Thank you very much, Rashmi Mataji. Beautiful purport, many points. Pick something and talk about it a bit.
Here Srila Prabhupada has, Parikshit Maharaj is being compared to King Shibi, who was a very charitable person. So, but the Bhagavatam is telling us about the charitable nature of Parikshit Maharaj, and he's being compared to King Shibi. And we read about the story of the pigeon and how he gave up his own body to save the life of the pigeon. That is how charitable he was. And the second point was, the Bhagavatam is telling us that he was also going to become as famous as Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyanta. So this Bharat was born out of Maharaj Dushyanta and Shakuntala. Shakuntala was the Srila Prabhupada has not mentioned it in the purport, but we know that Shakuntala was the daughter which was born out of Menka and Vishwamitra Muni. So when Vishwamitra Muni he was a great yogi, and he was meditating in the forest, and the Indra and the other demigods became frightened as usual that their position would be taken over by Vishwamitra Muni. So they sent this beautiful Apsara from the heavens called Shakuntala, and Vishwamitra's penance is his meditation is broken, and then he ultimately gets married to Shakuntala, to Menaka, and this child Shakuntala is born. And then this Shakuntala then gets married to this Maharaj Dushyanta, and then the son which is born is Bharat, who Srila Prabhupada is telling us became very famous. Like all the other three Bharats, the three Bharats, brother of Lord Ram, son of Rishabh Dev, and this Maharaj Dushyan's son.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rashmi Mataji. You picked out a lot of points. Yes, and may I add one point, but just to reinforce what Srila Prabhupada said, Bharat Varsha was originally, this planet was called Ilavrita, sometimes also Ilavrata, Varsha, called, and then from that time of Maharaj Bharat, it was called Bharat Varsha. And today, of course, we understand Bharat means India. So, but previously, the whole planet was called Bharat Varsha, and previously Ilavrita Varsha. So, anyone has any question? There's a lot of details, historical details, of course. But I mean, okay, let's pick one pointer. Because in the starting verse, we looked at the political situation as we have today, all over the world. And Ben asked the question, are there any good apples? And it appears not, because where is the Prime Minister? Where is that President who is a devotee of the Lord? Or even a pious soul who is devoted to the Lord? Or a Vaishnav, really, is that what we want? And here we have Maharaj Shibi, who, just to protect that pigeon, he was ready to cut the flesh from his body, and he did so. So these are kings we're talking about. And Amritarati Mataji, when you said it is very dangerous if someone has absolute power, yes, but not if someone is qualified like Maharaj Shibi or Maharaj Parikshit and so many other great kings in the past who were just living for the citizens. Like a guru lives for his disciples and lives for everyone in the world to spread Krishna consciousness. So in the same way, great kings in the past, they were devotees of the Lord. They were Kshatriyas. Their only aim was to protect the citizens. How beautiful is that? Who wouldn't want to live in such a political system? Who wouldn't want to let such a king have absolute power? But of course, above the king, there were the Brahmins. And we know from examples also that the Brahmins could take down a king. They did. So the king has to abide by the orders and the directions of the Brahmins. And the Brahmins had no material attachments, were just transcendentally situated, and they directed the whole affair of the kingdom, and the king was responsible to the Brahmin, and then he gave protection to all the citizens. A perfect system. But that is not anymore possible today, except we train a king. We'll train a king, but that will take some time. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any more question to this verse and purport? Anything?
Prabhuji, I think I can never become like Maharaj Shibi.
You're not a Kshatriya. But you can
but-
become like you already are a beautiful Vaishnavi. You don't have to become like Maharaj Shibi. Brahmins cannot tolerate pain. Cannot tolerate pain. So
But
a
then
Brahmin
we should be
cannot do
charitable.
that, cutting off the flesh of his body. Kshatriya can do that, yes.
True,
The
true,
Brahmins
true.
give in charity, yes.
Okay, so basically what we should learn from Maharaj Shibi is that we should be charitable.
Yes, as householders especially. As householders, we must be. That's householder dharma. We must be charitable. Why we must be, we had it in quizzes before, but maybe you were not there, I don't know. Why householders, especially householders, must be charitable? What's the reason?
Like maybe like I just like to purify the earnings, like the income, first of all, and to please the Lord.
Yes.
By
This is the
whatever he's earning.
only ashram which is earning,
Yeah.
and all other ashramas depend upon the household
So as
ashram.
householders, we should serve the members of the other ashram.
This is all right. The answers are all right, but what more? Ben, you might remember from a quiz. Why as a householders must give in charity? Rashmi.
Prabhuji, I'm just going to take a guess. Is otherwise you will just, the householder, he has to rise to the mode of goodness. He will just keep, if he does not give in charity, he will just hold it for him, his family, etc. So I'm guessing.
Yes. Basically, yes. He becomes otherwise too much attached. Attachment is not good. Too much attached to one's wealth, to one's economic development. So if a householder regularly gives in charities, and that attachment will loosen her. He won't be. So that helps him to counteract that attachment to everything, because otherwise he thinks whatever I have earned, that is mine. And I will enjoy it. So therefore, householders especially give in charity. What else? Anything else?
Is it because the Brahmins, they're responsible for expounding spiritual knowledge to people.
Yes.
And this highly, well, this is like one of the most important services that anyone can do. So therefore, they don't have time to earn a livelihood. So the system is designed that the householders supply them with what they need.
Yes. Not only the Brahmins, the brahmacharis are maintained, the sannyasis are maintained by the society, by the householders, because these ashrams, the Brahmins, they don't get entangled with worldly affairs. They're living on charity, so they can fully dedicate themselves to distributing spiritual knowledge and training. Brahmins always have been teachers, for training. Yes, in this way, a healthy balance, a healthy society is kept alive. Anything else, anyone? We spoke quite at length recently about the Brahmins, why they deserve charity and so on, because they would distribute it again. They will not keep it. We cannot even imagine that. The householder would keep it, and the householder is entitled to keep some security back, something, in time of need. Even when Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami went to surrender to Lord Chaitanya, they divided their income. They gave something to the Brahmins, and they gave something to the relatives. They had a vast fortune, and they kept something aside for emergency. So anyway, we spoke about that Brahmins, they were just depending on the Lord. And there's this beautiful story, we heard it before, you might remember, when Lord Chaitanya was traveling. One day he asked his servant, can you get me haritaki? And anybody knows what is haritaki? It's seemingly a root, a spice or something. Anybody has more? What about you, Rituvan and Amrita Radhe Mataji? You have ever taken any haritaki root?
It's a spice. It's a spice like we have in India.
Bengal.
Okay.
In Bengal specifically.
Okay, so you are most qualified to talk about it. Hare Krishna. So, Lord Chaitanya asked his servant, can you secure some haritaki? Perhaps for aiding the digestion, I could only imagine, I don't know. So the servant went away, and he could not find it so easily. And after quite a few hours he came, and he brought haritaki, and the Lord was pleased. Next day, he asked again, can you get me some haritaki? And within 10-15 minutes, the servant came back, and here's some haritaki. And Lord Chaitanya said, where did you get that? Where did you get that from so quickly? Yesterday it took you 3-4 hours, and today you after 10 minutes. So he said, well, I wisely, he was a householder, I think so, I wisely kept something from yesterday because I thought you would ask again. And then Lord Chaitanya said, oh, you are hoarding. You should get married. Hare Krishna. Lord Chaitanya was very strict in that sense. For his renounced disciples, at least, you depend on Krishna. He was so pleased when Raghunath Das Goswami gave up his standing there and begging. We have explained it recently because that's the mentality of a prostitute. Oh, this man is coming here. Oh, he gave me something yesterday, so I hope he gives me something today. And so on. So this kind of mind games will naturally arise. And then Raghunath, out of his own accord, he could understand that's not the right thing to do. So he was collecting the thrown away prasadam at the Simhadwara gate at Jagannath Puri's temple. And when Lord Chaitanya heard of that, he was very pleased, depending on the Lord, not depending on, this man gave me something yesterday, I hope something, he will surely give me something today. No, that's a calculating mentality. Lord Chaitanya wanted the devotees to depend on Krishna, because Krishna said, I will provide, I will maintain what you have, and if we have faith, then we can depend on Krishna. That was what Chaitanya wanted. And the other story comes to mind of Srivas Thakur, who was always doing devotional service. And one day Lord Chaitanya asked him, Srivas, I want to speak very confidentially with you. Can you tell me, I never see you going out because Srivas Thakur was a household, he had a large family. I never see you going out and doing some business and earning money and collecting this and that. You're always at home and you're singing Hare Krishna and chanting and taking care of the deities and so on. So why is that? Can you explain? I don't understand that. And Srivas Thakur did like that. 3 times he clapped in his hand. And Lord Chaitanya said, what does that mean? What does it mean? And then Srivas Thakur again. 3 times. And then the Lord said, please, that is mysteriously, why are you clapping 3 times in your hands? Can you just, I have a genuine question, can you please answer that? And then Srivas Thakur said, if after 3 days, the Lord is not providing something for me and my family to eat. I will tie a stone around my neck and I drown myself in the Ganga. When Lord Chaitanya heard that, he said, "What did you say, Shrivas? What did you say?" And he was very, very pleased. And he said, even if by some bad fortune, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, has to go and beg from house to house because she has become poor, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. But if by some misfortune she would have to do that, I guarantee you, you will never be without any food. You will always, all your needs will be met. So that is the Lord himself. Welcome, Vaishnav Mataji. We missed you. It is late, but you are here. That is good.
Hare Krishna.
So, yes, the Brahmins depend on the Lord. And the householders depend on their income or business or job or whatever. More. I mean, of course, devotees, with moderation there, but generally more this tendency. Okay, anything else? Anything else to this beautiful verse? If not, we're moving on, and I would like to ask Amrita Radhe Mataji to take us to the next verse, which is Vaishnava Mataji's next verse is text 21. And after that, you can do 22. So 21, Amrita Radhe Mataji.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dhanvinam agraniresha tulyash charjunayor dvayo hutasha iva durdhaharsha samudra iva dushtaraha. Translation. Amongst great bowmen, this child will be as good as Arjuna. He will be irresistible as fire and unsurpassable as the ocean. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. In history, there are two Arjunas. One is Kartavirya Arjun, the king of Haya, and the other is the grandfather of the child. Both the Arjunas are famous for their bowmanship, and the child Parikshit foretold to be equal to both of them, particularly in fighting. A short description of the Pandava Arjun is given below. Pandava Arjun, the great hero of the Bhagavad Gita, he is the Kshatriya son of Maharaj Pandu. Queen Kunti Devi could call for any one of the demigods, and thus he called Indra, and Arjun was born by him. Arjun is therefore a plenary part of the heavenly king Indra. He was born in the month of Falgun, February and March, and therefore he is also called Falguni. When he appeared as the son of Kunti, his future greatness was proclaimed by air messages, and all the important personalities from different parts of the universe, such as the demigods, the Gandharvas, the Adityas, the Rudras, the Vasus, the Nagas, and the different rishis of importance, and the Apsaras, all attended the ceremony. The Apsaras pleased everyone by their heavenly dances and songs. Vasudev, the father of Lord Krishna and the maternal uncle of Arjuna, sent his priest representative Kashyapa to purify Arjun by all the prescribed samskaras or reformatory processes. His samskaras of being given a name was performed in the presence of the rishis, residents of Shatashringa. He married 4 wives, Draupadi, Subhadra, Chitrangada, and Ulupi. From whom he got 4 sons of the name Shrutakirti, Abhimanyu, Baharu Vahana, and Iravan, respectively. During his student life, he was entrusted to study under the great professor Dronacharya along with other Pandavas and the Kurus. But he excelled everyone by his studious intensity, and Dronacharya was especially attracted by his disciplinary affection. Dronacharya accepted him as a first-grade scholar and loved heartily to bestow upon him all the blessings of the military science. He was so ardent a student that he used to practice bowmanship even at night, and for all these reasons, Professor Dronacharya was determined to make him the topmost bowman of the world. He passed very brilliantly the examination in piercing the target, and Dronacharya was very pleased. Royal families of Manipur and Tripura are descendant of Arjuna's son Bahruvahana. Arjuna saved Dronacharya from the attack of a crocodile, and the Acharya, being pleased with him, rewarded him with a weapon of the name Brahmashiras. Maharaj Drupada was inimical towards Dronacharya, and thus when he attacked the Acharya, Arjun got him arrested and brought him before Dronacharya. He besieged a city of the name Ahitshatra belonging to Maharaj Drupada, and after taking it over, he gave it to Dronacharya. The confidential treatment of the weapon Brahmashiras was explained to Arjuna, and Dronacharya was promised by Arjuna that he would use the weapon if necessary when he, Dronacharya, personally became an enemy of Arjuna. By this, the Acharya forecast the future of the battle of Kurukshetra, in which Dronacharya was on the opposite side. Maharaj Drupada, although defeated by Arjun on behalf of his professor Dronacharya, decided to hand over his daughter Draupadi to his young combatant. But he was disappointed when he heard the false news of Arjuna's death in the fire of a shellak house, intrigued by Duryodhana. He therefore arranged for Draupadi's personal selection of a groom who could pierce the eye of a fish hanging on the ceiling. This trick was especially made because only Arjuna could do it, and he was successful in his desire to hand over his equally worthy daughter to Arjuna. Arjuna's brothers were at that time living incognito under agreement with Duryodhana, and Arjun and his brothers attended the meeting of Draupadi's selection in the dress of the Brahmanas. When all the Kshatriya kings assembled saw that a poor Brahmana had been garlanded by Draupadi for her lord, Shri Krishna disclosed his identity to Balaram. He met Ulupi at Haridwar, and he was attracted by a girl belonging to Nagaloka, and thus Iravan was born. Similarly, he met Chitrangada, a daughter of the king of Manipur, and thus Bahruvahana was born. Lord Shri Krishna made a plan to help Arjuna to kidnap Subhadra, sister of Shri Krishna, because Baldev was inclined to hand her over to Duryodhan. Yudhishthir also agreed with Shri Krishna, and thus Subhadra was taken by force by Arjuna and then married to him. Subhadra's son is Abhimanyu, the father of Parikshit Maharaj, the posthumous child. Arjun satisfied the fire god by setting fire to the Khandava forest, and thus the fire god gave him one weapon. Indra was angry when the fire was set in the Khandava forest, and thus Indra, assisted by all other demigods, began fighting with Arjuna for his great challenge. They were defeated by Arjun, and Indradev returned to his heavenly kingdom. Arjun also promised all protection to one Mayasura, and the latter presented him one valuable conch shell celebrated as the Devadatta. Similarly, he received many other valuable weapons from Indradev when he was satisfied to see his chivalry. When Maharaj Yudhishthir was disappointed in defeating the king of Magadha, Jarasangh, it was Arjuna only who gave King Yudhishthir all kind of assurances, and thus Arjun, Bhim and Lord Krishna started for Magad to kill Jarasangha. When he went out to bring all other kings of the world under the subjection of the Pandavas, as was usual after coronation of every emperor, he conquered the country named Kelinda and brought in subjugation King Bhagadatta. Then he travelled through countries like Antagiri, Ulukapura, Modapura and brought under subjugation all the rulers. Sometimes he underwent severe types of penances, and later on he was rewarded by Indradev. Lord Shiva also wanted to try the strength of Arjun, and in the form of an aborigine, Lord Shiva met him. There was a great fight between the two, and at last Lord Shiva was satisfied with him and disclosed his identity. Arjuna prayed to the Lord in all humbleness, and the Lord, being pleased with him, presented him the Pashupat weapon. He acquired many other important weapons from different demigods. He received Dandastra from Yamaraj, Pashastra from Varuna, and Antardhanastra from Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly kingdom. Indra wanted him to come to the heavenly kingdom, the Indraloka planet, beyond the moon planet. In that planet, he was cordially received by the local residents, and he was awarded reception in the heavenly parliament of Indradev. Then he met Indradev, who not only presented him with his Vajra weapon, but also taught him the military and musical signs as used in the heavenly planet. In one sense, Indra is the real father of Arjun, and therefore indirectly he wanted to entertain Arjun with the famous society girl of heaven, Urvashi, the celebrated beauty. The society girls of heavens are lusty, and Urvashi was very eager to contact Arjun, the strongest human. She met him in his room and expressed her desires. But Arjuna sustained his unimpeachable character by closing his eyes before Urvashi, addressing her as mother of the Kuru dynasty, and placing her in the category of his mothers, Kunti, Madri, and Shachi Devi, wife of Indradev. Disappointed, Urvashi cursed Arjuna and left. In the heavenly planet, he also met the great celebrated ascetic Lomasha and prayed to him for the protection of Maharaj Yudhishthir. When his inimical cousin Duryodhan was under the clutches of Gandharvas, he wanted to save him and requested the Gandharvas to release Duryodhan. But Gandharvas refused, and thus he fought with them and got Duryodhan released. When all the Pandavas lived incognito, he presented himself in the court of King Virata as a eunuch and was employed as the musical teacher of Uttara, his future daughter-in-law, and was known in the Virat court as the Brihanala. As Brihanala, he fought on behalf of Uttara, the son the son of King Virat, and thus defeated the Kurus in the fight incognito. His secret weapons were safely kept in the custody of a Somi tree, and he ordered Uttara to get them back. His identity and his brother's identity were later on disclosed to Uttara. Dronacharya was informed of Arjuna's presence in the fight of the Kurus and the Viratas. Later on, the battlefield of Kurukshetra, On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna killed many great generals like Karna and others. After the battle of Kurukshetra, he punished Ashwatthama, who had killed all the 5 sons of Draupadi. Then all the brothers went to Bhishma Deva. It is due to Arjuna only that the great philosophical discourses of Bhagavad Gita were again spoken by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. His wonderful acts on the battlefield of Kurukshetra are vividly described in Mahabharata. Arjun was defeated, however, by his son Bahabruvahana at Manipur and fell unconscious when Ulupi saved him. After the disappearance of Lord Krishna, the message was brought by Arjun to Maharaj Yudhishthir. Again, Arjun visited Dwarka, and all the widow wives of Lord Krishna lamented before him. He took them all in the presence of Vasudeva and pacified all of them. Later on, when Vasudeva passed away, he performed his funeral ceremony in absence of Krishna. While Arjun was taking all the wives of Krishna to Indraprastha, he was attacked on the way. He could not protect the ladies in his custody. At last, advised by Vyasadeva, all the brothers headed for Mahaprasthan. On the way, at the request of his brother, he gave up all important weapons as useless. He dropped them all in the water.
Hare Krishna, what a long and beautiful purport, and all about Arjuna in great, great detail. Okay, great. Can you say something? Just pick your point and elaborate a little bit.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I heard in one Bhagavatam class by Radha Gopinath Prabhu, he was quoting Srila Rupa Goswami saying that just by remembering pure devotees such as Arjuna, so many of our anarthas get vanquished and we go closer to Krishna. So even though this is history and many of us may have heard it several times, but just by remembering Arjuna, we are, so purified. Just by
Hare Krishna. Yes, because that is transcendental history. Anything else, Mataji, you want to speak about?
Prabhuji, I'm very inspired by Arjuna's humility. Even though he has so many accolades, so many, like as described here, he won over so many princesses, he won so many wars, but wherever it was required, he offered his respects, like how he was very respectful to Lomasha, the ascetic, of heavenly planet. And he prayed not for himself, but for the protection of his brother. So, and he was also offering respects to Urvashi, so, and how he, in all humbleness, he prayed to Lord Shiva. So I think this is very important aspect of Vedic culture, that we have to stay connected. We have to understand that we are dependent on so many others. No matter who we are or no matter what we are doing in this world, but still we are dependent upon the blessings of our seniors, of the devatas, of the sadhus. So if we have this, then we'll have Krishna's blessings, and as long as we have Krishna's blessings, we'll be successful.
Hare Krishna, Trinada Pisunechana, and so on. Of course, one should. Vaishnavas are humble in every respect and tolerant and so on. That's a decoration. That is the decoration of a Vaishnava. Yes. Thank you very much. Now, I have one question. What happened? Why could Arjuna not protect the queens. Arjuna, such a strong Kshatriya, he fought so many personalities, and then he could not even protect some ladies. The queens, why he could not? What's the answer? Who can say? Why was Arjuna unable to protect the queens? He took them from Dwarka to Indraprastha. Rashmi, what do you say? What do you say?
No idea, Prabhu.
No answer? Vaishana Mataji. Why suddenly Arjuna could not protect the queens?
I don't really know. All I heard from the script that Mataji just read was that he'd given up his weapons. So did he
had his weapons. He had his weapons.
I thought he'd given them up. So
Afterwards.
was that the reason?
No. Ben, what do you know?
Is it because Krishna had left and he didn't have any power anymore?
Exactly. Exactly. So the power of the famous Gandiva bow, as soon as Krishna left, mission was accomplished. Battle of Kurukshetra was fought. There was no use anymore of the Gandiva bow. So these powers all vanquished. That's important for us also. We may be empowered by Krishna, by our spiritual master to do certain things, but any empowerment can also be withdrawn at any time due to various reasons. For instance, empowerment is withdrawn if we are offensive against other Vaishnavas. We may rise to significant levels of Krishna Bhakti, but if we committing offense due to pride against other Vaishnavas, then all this advancement will be taken away immediately. Everything will be taken away from us. The only remedy is if we beg forgiveness from those we have offended, directly, falling down at their feet. So, but the lesson is we may get certain empowerments in the progressive march of our bhakti, but these are not our accomplishments. These are given by Krishna. We may do austerities but mercy, whichever, but these can be all taken away. So nothing is for granted. And whatever empowerments we have, we must use it in the service of the Lord. Only. If we use it in the service of our pride, we become proud. Krishna does not tolerate any pride in his devotees, especially. Krishna does not tolerate. He will cut it down. And there will be much lamentation. But it's good for us. It's good for us. So we should be always very, very careful not to develop pride. There is a saying, pride comes before the fall. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Absolutely true. We can see that even in ordinary people's life. What to speak in devotees' lives.
What about when someone will say, oh, you should be proud to be a devotee? How do you reconcile that kind of pride?
Proud to be a devotee? I don't know, yes. That is a different kind of pride. But we are just devotees, and we should not. If we're proud to be an advanced devotee, then again we're falling into the trap. So more we are advanced, so more fallen we think ourselves. We're learning that from the acharyas. So more a devotee is advanced in spiritual life, in spiritual accomplishment, so more, not he plays, he feels actually unworthy. Interesting. In the material context, the more someone has a certain ability, the more proud he gets. In spiritual life, it's just the opposite. So more one advances, so more unqualified he feels, because so more one advances, so more he sees how much needs to be done to please Krishna. And yes, so real humility is developed. Proud to be a devotee. Sounds almost like proud to be an advanced devotee, and that I would say is quite dangerous, to think oneself as advanced, and we shouldn't think ourselves advanced. And why do we need to be proud to be a devotee? That's another question. Why need to be proud? I'm proud I'm a devotee. I'm proud I was a good this, a good that in material life. Now I'm proud to be a devotee. There's an interesting story. You probably heard of it. When one devotee, newish devotee, one day he said to Srila Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. Sounds nice, right? What we're just speaking about is the most fallen. One can feel like that, but he proclaimed, Srila Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. Of course, Srila Prabhupada could look through him. The pure devotee can. We have so many stories where Srila Prabhupada looked right through us. I have personal experience in that as well. We're standing there completely naked. Completely, Srila Prabhupada looks through all our many thousands and thousands of lifetimes, how we have come along, how we have deviated, how we have again found the path and then let it go again, and how not serious we have been. And so he said, that devotee, I'm the most fallen. And Srila Prabhupada turned around and says, you are not the most anything. Because for that devotee, you could obviously see, before he was singing, I'm the most intelligent, I'm the most handsome, I'm the most this and that, and now he becomes a devotee, and then he thinks, oh, I'm the most fallen. That is what one is supposed to say. But it wasn't from the heart. It was just another, the most. I'm the most. I'm better than anybody. I'm the most fallen. Srila Prabhupada, you're not the most anything. And I think that devotee took that lesson. Srila Prabhupada knew exactly where everybody was at. And he treated the devotees according to where they were at. So, do we need to be proud to be a devotee? We're just devotees. All what we're just trying to do something for Krishna, that's all. Whatever we have, whatever we have been given, whatever assets, whatever intelligence, whatever talents, whatever, we just glorifying Krishna and trying to spread the glories of the Lord to others. That's very important. Without at least trying to spread the Lord's glories, then we will not get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So we have to at least try. At least try, as that one disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, oh, I have distributed only one magazine, The Harmonist, today, all day long. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, you have distributed a magazine? That is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. So even a little bit of service. It may appear a little bit, but actually it's a mood we're doing it. And from the heart, we're trying to give Krishna consciousness to someone else. Then Krishna will be pleased. Srila Prabhupada will be pleased. Lord Chaitanya will be pleased. The whole Guru Parambara will be pleased. And the mercy comes in bucket loads. Let's try it.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
So Prabhuji, when we are working, so I can give you my example directly. So when I work in the hospital and when I'm with devotees, it's as though I have got a split personality. I feel like that. So if I'm with a devotee, you are humble, you are not proud, you are just thankful. You have gratitude to Krishna that, okay, I'm glad I have got this association of these devotees. You're different. But when I work in the hospital, I am very assertive. I use, let's say, my position all the time, not in a wrong way. Like I have to do what I have to do, and for that I have to use position and whatever. So sometimes when I am driving back, I always think that actually I was behaving quite proudly when I said to the receptionist, you should do this and you should do that, and now you have to listen to what I say. So when we talk about humility in spiritual life, is it just in spiritual life, or we talk about overall? Surely it has to be overall, no?
Absolutely. Not just we switching off, okay, Krishna consciousness stops here and something else starts there. No, the devotee is humility is wherever. But we have to play our role. There's nothing wrong. You be assertive at work. You have to play your role, whatever it means in a particular situation. But the main thing, we don't forget that we're playing a role. We have spoken on Wednesday a lot about the very same thing. We are in this world. We playing a drama. We're playing different roles as husbands, as wives, as friends, as even children, as parents, as doctors, as whatever. We're playing so many roles. That is okay. But if we forget who we are, then that's a dangerous position. It's just like the actor. He is on the stage and he's playing Napoleon or anything else, Shakespearean drama. And he gets off the stage and he forgets who he actually is. He forgets that he's playing the role. He's Napoleon. He's ordering everybody around. I'm Bonaparte, but why are you not listening to me? I'm your king. So he will end up in a close psychiatric situation. It's mad. If one forgets, if that actor forgets his real identity as Mr. So-and-so, actor so-and-so, who played a role in a drama, then he has gone mad. So we may play different roles as fathers, mothers, employers, and so on, employees. But if we forget who we really are, then we are mad. We can play the roles. Nothing wrong with playing the roles. We have to play the roles. In a social function, we have to be fathers and mothers and householders and whichever role we are, we have to play it in society. Otherwise, nothing will function. But we have to be aware, Krishna conscious. While we're playing the roles even, we be aware who we really are all the time. We're becoming the best player of these roles. If we are aware who we really are, we have no anxiety. All anxiety will be gone. We know we are Krishna's eternal servant, and Krishna is always protecting us. So why should we have any anxiety? Anxiety comes in when we forget who we are. Then we're anxious. What's going to happen tomorrow? Right? We become anxious, full of anxiety. This world is Kunta, is not Vaikunta. And the reason why we become anxious about the future and lamenting about the past, because we forget who we are. Not so easy to always remember who we are, but we can train ourselves. Now we're speaking, discussing Bhagavatam for the last 2 hours. Now everybody is aware who we are, eternal servant of the Lord. But what about tomorrow? And the day after tomorrow? That's why we have 2 sessions. And the devotees initially appreciated that very much, because they said, If we go from, that was when we still had the program physically at the temple, we go from Saturday to Saturday, but by Wednesday, we have forgotten everything. We are materially entangled. And it's a long way from Saturday to the next Saturday. It's a long way to go. And probably we didn't read in the meantime, and so on, so many things. So therefore, we have midweek, a booster. We're taking booster jabs of the vaccination, but we need a spiritual booster as well. So Wednesday is a booster jab. Let's look at it like that. And so Saturday, that is a full vaccination. So yes, let's remember all the time. Let's practice to remember all the time who we are in the background. Be aware in the background who we are, not forgetting who we really are. That is Krishna conscious. Krishna consciousness throughout the day. Whatever job, whatever position we hold, we need to be always Krishna conscious. Means, remember, we are eternal servant of the Lord. Nothing more, nothing less. Not split personality. No. Why we need to split? We split. We're becoming mad. We split one part of our life to be devotees and the other part to being materialists or good materialists even. No. We can be Krishna conscious in any situation that is wanted, in any situation. Earlier on we spoke about, also, let's put it now, there are devotees who becoming Krishna conscious when calamity strikes, right? I call them, that's my term, that's not found with Srila Prabhupada, but I think it's quite an interesting comparison. The fire department devotees. When there's fire at the house, they running for the fire department, which is good. Whenever we are in distress, we run into Krishna. Krishna, please help me, please help me. We know when the Twin Towers were put down so many years back, then the people afterwards, they were so shocked. The churches were full. Same thing. Churches were full. Or when there is a war or things like that, then people take shelter of God. Not all people. The pious people take shelter of God. The impious people don't take shelter of God, even when there's calamity. They're demoniac, atheistic. But we can do better than being fire department devotee. Whenever there's fire, and again, fires will come. That's a part of this setup, a part of the material world. We have to get used to it. It's not accidentally something bad happened. No, bad things do happen in this world. Even to seemingly good people. Karma, we're creating bad karma all the time. With every breath, with every step. So bad things will happen, even to devotees. Seemingly bad things. So it's not we run into Krishna when the house is on fire. That is good. But why not run to Krishna when the house is not on fire? That is a proposition. Why not run into Krishna in between the first fire and the second fire and the third fire? Why only run when the house is actually in flames? Krishna is saving us and protecting us. When the house is on fire, we take shelter of him. But what about in between? Why we cannot take shelter of Krishna and glorify him in between the first and the second and the third fire? So out of fire department devotees, we become permanent devotees. And those who coming regularly here, they are permanent devotees, are not fire department devotees. But there are others, when something happens, then they're fire department devotees. And in the meantime, then they have so many excuses. Oh, I had to do this, and this was so important, and this happened, and this happened, and this. There's always something happening in this world. It's a question of priorities. It's not that we. Therefore, this chanting regularly of some amount of rounds of Hare Krishna is so important. It's not only we chanting, I will chant when I have some time. How would Krishna feel? How would we feel? Our friend or someone we have relationship with, they only coming to us when they need something. This kind of relationships we have in this material world. Oh, my friend, he's coming. Oh, he's coming to me. Or he's only coming, or to our parents even, or the children to the parents. When they need something, then we run into Krishna. Why not coming to Krishna when we don't need something? That is called love. If we love someone, we're not coming to that person to ask something. We rather coming to that person to give something. Why not giving to Krishna? That is love. And that is Krishna consciousness. That's what we want. Hare Krishna. Anything more? At 9 o'clock, we don't have a quiz tonight. So I think that's a good point to stop. Vaishana Mataji, sorry, you didn't get the verse. Next time, please come on time, everyone. 7 o'clock. Otherwise, it will be just cutting out time, valuable time, or we running over time and trying to catch up. Or is 7 o'clock too early? Should we start 6:30? What is everybody saying? Because 7 o'clock, nobody comes.
For us,
It's always
7
a bit later. Yes? Mataji?
Prabhuji, for us, 7 o'clock is fine. We came 1 or 2 minutes late, but 7 o'clock is fine for us.
Okay. If 7 o'clock is fine for anybody, then why not come at 7 o'clock? Prakash from Delhi, midnight in Delhi, past midnight, 7 o'clock. He's always coming. In fact, he's coming sometimes a minute earlier. He's always coming on time. Why is he not here today? Because Prakash is just been, or still is, I don't know, in Vrindavan. So from Delhi to Vrindavan is not that far. And he took some pictures, sent it to me. And he said, sorry, I'm not allowed to take pictures in Bangi Bihariji. No, we're not allowed to take because they keep the curtain open too long, then Bangi Bihari walks out again, as he has done in the past. So they're afraid they're going to lose Bangi Bihariji. So, yes, Prakash is in Vrindavan. Very nice. Very nice to live in Delhi. Or just go for the weekend, I go to Vrindavan. Hare Krishna, Rashmi, you would like that, huh? Well, let's go to Vrindavan tomorrow, Sunday. Okay, short taxi ride. Let's visit Radharaman and let's hear the beautiful bhajans of the Brahmins there singing these beautiful heart-rendering bhajans. I have recently been given or came across some pictures of a temple. I forgot what the name of the temple was. Behind Loy Bazaar on the left, and they have, because we spoke the other day of Vasant Panchami. So they make a special arrangement. I will show you a picture. You will not believe I couldn't believe what I saw. That picture. They're putting up lamps and so many things, and it was absolutely unbelievable. I don't know if I can get this picture under recent, maybe. Yes, here it is. Okay, I will share that screen. It's absolutely most in my Vaishana Mataji. We love that picture. It's absolutely most amazing. Let's share that picture. Share that screen. I've never liked that. What do you think? What is that? It looks like the Versailles of the Sun King in France or whatever, but you would expect something like that in Vrindavan? Can you see that picture, Vaishana?
Yes, it's beautiful. Lights. Lots of lights.
It's absolutely incredible. What
Yes,
a temple is that?
chandeliers.
And they have a special Vasant Panchami room every year when spring starts. And that is that room. Krishna has a special enjoyment here. Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you very much. We stop for tonight and we'll see you hopefully on Wednesday. The booster. Don't forget the Wednesday booster. And Saturday afterwards. Is there anything else? Anyone wants to share anything else? And let's start to try to come at 7. Vaishana, is 7 too early for you?
No, I just happened to have a phone call from Dubai today.
Okay.
From my daughter, so I had to speak with her. So that's
Of course
why
you have to. And hope she is okay and everything is fine.
Yes, she's okay. Yeah. Because of the time difference, 4 or 5 hours. So that's the
Yes.
problem on a Saturday.
But in my mind, it's kind of you tending to come quite frequently, a little bit on the later side.
Yeah, I mean, I can sit for over an hour, but otherwise it does become a bit too long for me.
Why not the first hour?
Well,
Or you prefer
then
the
I'll be
second
leaving
hour?
early. Then I'll be leaving early. So
Yes.
I'd rather join you
Yes.
a bit later on. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Later.
Wednesday's not a problem. Wednesday's not a
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.